we just saw a fight where probably what happened was what was least expected to happen, which was Spence Crawford, right? The outcome, I think
Mhm.
we could agree that was the least expected.
Yeah, on that
So
level, yes,
on that
yes.
level, right? For that fight. So for this fight, the least expected outcome, I think, would be Canelo getting knocked out because not just because he's bigger, but the guy's a chin. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think would be the least expected outcome in this fight?
That Jermell hurts him and drops him once,
Or knocks him out, right?
knocks him out. The only time I've seen Canelo hurt was very early in his career when he fought Mikhail Goto's brother.
Brother was tagging him up.
Yeah, and he hurt Canelo, but uh, Canelo failed forward because we never seen him hurt like that ever again.
Right, right, right.
And he's learned a lot. He has very great. Listen, Canelo is a fabulous boxer,
You heard
and
it here.
it broke my heart when he popped dirty. I mean, listen, when I tell you I was a Canelo supporter, I was in the pocket for that guy when I was on Facebook fighting people.
Right.
Fighting people. He beats Golovkin. He beats Golovkin. Watch, watch, watch. When it came time for him to fight Golovkin, he dumped the belt. What could I say?
Right.
If he beats Golovkin, why did he dump the belt? I had nothing to say. I said, well, what could I say?
Right.
Then he fights Golovkin. He beats him, but then that was a controversial win.
Mm.
Then he pops dirty. And I'm like, yo, come on, man. What am I supposed to do with all of that? How do you defend that? You don't. And then he's not fighting his contemporaries. So you're talking to a former Canelo supporter.
Mm-hmm.
And it broke my heart to just, I can't defend that guy.
Right.
I can't defend that guy. So I'm rooting for Jermell.
Okay.
I'm rooting for Jermell. And because I think that Canelo thinks that this is easy work. There's a reason why he came to the PBC now and not last year when on the menu was Jermell Charlo, I think Benavidez and Errol Spence was on that menu in a sizable amount of change. And he said no. And then gave you Golovkin 3, a fight that he said he wasn't going to give you because he was done with it after 2. And then he gave you John Ryder.
Absolutely. And like my issue is that Canelo isn't fighting Benavidez, which I think everybody in boxing has a problem with. I don't understand why. I mean, maybe it's a very risky fight, and Canelo, like you said, he's about trying to build his legacy. And some can argue the guy's fought everybody up until recently. Why not? You know, so it goes both ways. But that's unfair to Benavidez, and I think Benavidez would beat him. I think Benavidez is the most talented super middleweight in the world.
Yeah.
But we're not going to see that fight. I think Canelo seems like for whatever reason he's staying clear. His response recently was, "Oh, he talks too much." That's why.
So punch him in the face and get it over with.
Yeah, I mean everybody talks a lot, right? So that's going to be an interesting fight, Canelo and Charlo. But I think I'm with you, where I think it's very unlikely that Canelo loses that fight. But you know the pressure is on Derek James now, big time.
Man.
You know what I mean? Like
Derek James got his hands full, man.
Has a lot of pressure. You know,
it's about to be it can be a bad year for Derek.
And that Anthony Joshua fight, in my opinion, by the way, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about that fight, but that was not going too well for Joshua.
No, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't. No,
but,
and Derek, just to digress on Derek, and you know, Derek's a friend. He's a friend of the shows and everything.
Right.
But that Errol Spence loss, that was unseen. I didn't, you know,
nobody thought
somebody had to win, somebody had to lose.
Right.
I'm happy for both of them. But the way Errol got wiped out, everybody left the T-Mobile like, but even Bud fans was like, what the hell was that?
Oh, yeah, you were there, right?
So, I was there. And everyone was like, we'll take it, but
was the energy like Tyson versus Douglas, just like what the fuck just happened, or no?
Yeah, like that. People were walking out like, yo, we'll take the win. But was Errol drunk? He had to have been drunk. Everyone said that was not Errol, but I don't want to like stay on that too long. But everybody was confused. It was crazy.
But I will say, and now mind you, I picked Bud going in, not by the fashion in which it occurred, but I did
right.
But I did see a clear, how do I say it? a difference in his personality, a difference in his exterior. His eyes looked glazed over. His speech was slower. He did look. People said he looked like he was smoking weed. Now I don't think he smoked weed, but
you don't smoke.
But there was something there. Now I don't think that would have made a difference. I still think he would have beat. Bud would have.
And I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
But there was something there, and to say that, we can bring up stuff that we see, and it doesn't have to be an excuse. Both things can be true. There could have been something wrong, but Bud was still just a better fighter.
Just because I picked Errol to win by 6.
Right.
But just because I picked Errol to win by 6 doesn't mean I dislike Bud. And I said, it's boxing. It can go either way. Omaha was behind me. Those guys from Omaha, a whole row. And they were like, after round 2, they was like, what the fuck's wrong with him?
Right.
I was like, and I'm filming the fight on my phone. I said, oh my God. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. It was insane. I said, I don't know what's wrong with this dude. But listen, if he had an injury or if anything was going on, he should have postponed the fight. He went in there and he took it like a man. And he's not giving any excuses. So I don't even want to. I'm beyond talking about you, Marco. I got an ear to the ground and I talk to people.
Right.
And look, if Errol is not saying anything, then I'm not saying anything.
Well,
but what everyone can agree on is that Errol didn't look himself that night, but that's not Bud's fault. And actually, Bud could have got him out of there like in 5. To be honest,
right? And we talked about this on your show, but Errol did explain in a roundabout way what probably was the issue when he goes, "Look, I'm not going to make an excuse. I agreed to the weight, so that's that." So that kind of that let us, and I'm not saying it's an excuse because I'm a firm believer of like, no, there are reasons. Now that doesn't, you still lost. He's not sitting there saying I would have won it, blah blah blah. He's just, two things can be true. There's always a reason why a fighter loses, and that's on him. You don't think Bud had to lose weight? He did.
So right.
But whatever. Do you want to see the rematch?
Absolutely.
You do.
Absolutely. We can we agree that we've seen worse ass whoopings?
Yes.
We've seen worse ones in the history of the sport. We've seen far worse ass whoopings.
Way worse. This was just assumed to be so much more even. That's why it stands out.
Right. He got up and the ref stopped it. You understand? Can we agree when Douglas and Tyson ended, right? Mike was far worse getting up off that floor. He put his mouthpiece on backwards. It was crazy.
No, he was out. Yeah.
No one said for him to retire. They wanted him to run it back the next day.
You know what the difference is, though? I think why they think that Spence should retire is because he had those accidents and he looked so different that he's ever looked. Tyson in the beginning he looked strong. He was trying. He just got fucked up. Here's the thing. With Mike Tyson, the world loved him. Yeah.
The world loved him. And they couldn't believe that Buster Douglas, of all people, did that to him. Sure. And at the end of the fight, they were talking about a long count, which it was. They were talking about a long count. And the way they were making excuses for Mike.
Yeah.
Bud's fan base just don't want him to run it back with Errol just because. Look, they agreed to it. And Errol, whatever was going on, I don't want to talk about what I was told. They agreed to a rematch. So he's going to keep his word.
Well,
if it happens again, it happens again. It's boxing, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know what you've heard, but I wouldn't be surprised because he has, I think, 7 or 8 more days to trigger the rematch, is what I've been told. I wouldn't be surprised if the rematch doesn't get triggered because maybe there's some medical issues. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something medically holding him up.
Anything is possible. And you know that. Anything's possible. The reason why I'm not going to lean on the car accident is because he done had 2 fights after the car accident where he was dominant.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. But then also, if you've talked to if you know a little bit about the way it works, it's a slow progression. You know what I mean? So he could have the accident and then he's all the sparring he's had since then and everything. And it just, but you're right.
You know, he didn't spar for 6 weeks in that camp. Did you know that?
I heard that.
Yeah. He didn't spar for 6 weeks. So there was something going on. And all I'm going to say is, when you don't spar for 6 weeks in the camp, that's an injury.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Yes.
And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
And if it's, I mean, and there's a difference. Is it an injury where his eyes hurt again? But the way he looked, it didn't look like just like a hurt shoulder. It looked like something was wrong, really wrong.
Bro, I'm not gonna say what I heard, and I heard it that night.
Well, just say it, unless you don't want to. You don't have to get into it.
No. Because I put out what people have told me.
Okay.
And then I get attacked like I'm making excuses. No. I'm the one that gave Bud full credit. You could check my resume.
You won't get attacked.
Listen. Listen. I'm done with like releasing what people told me. I don't. Okay. It's like whatever, man. Because everything I say, it's like people think that I'm some sort of Errol super fan, right. And I hate Bud. But I'm the one. You saw my interview with Bomac at the presser,
right?
Okay, and I got videos bigging up Bud. Right. I was the one concerned about Bud's well-being when he went to Dubai to talk to Daniel Kinahan, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing there? Not him. Go get your money, but not from him. That guy's a gangster.
Right.
That guy's a gangster.
Right.
You're rolling around in the mud with gangsters. Please leave Dubai. And for those of you in the chat that don't know who Daniel Kinahan is, Google him and then ask yourself, where's MTK Global? Well, wait. I did not want Bud anywhere near that situation.
When you heard about what happened to Spence, who'd you hear it from? Or you can't say?
Tay Jones.
Okay. And you don't want to say what it was?
No, I'll tell you behind the scenes,
Okay.
But
I'm really curious because, I'm not a supporter of either. You know what I mean? But to me, clearly something looked off.
And you see what you're saying? You pick Bud, but you don't hate Errol.
I don't. I like them both.
Right, and that's perfectly fine. That's why I stand. I picked Errol over Bud, but I always said it's boxing. Errol could go in there and get knocked out in the first round. I remember saying that. And look what happened. It didn't go in the first round, but he got washed.
Yeah.
And then as that night, I'm getting texts and I'm like, oh boy. And then we look at the Jumbotron, he walks out the car and I'm like, oh boy, damn it.
Oh, so you were told before the fight started?
Yes. Yes. While I'm in the building, I'm getting text and I'm like, damn. Damn. And I'm like, man, and I was just quiet. I was like, man, this is bullshit.
I was getting, and I hope I'm wrong, but, Parkinson's or some onset of some shit neurological. The vibe I was getting by looking at him. And I hope that's off. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it was just, weight train or whatever. But
you don't forget how to fight in one night. If we get the same results after the rematch, if it's the same thing, then we can have that conversation.
Right,
but based off of what I was told, yeah, that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting, like, as far as from what I was told.
What?
But I try and like share that information just for the sake of sharing the information.
What do you mean that's what you're getting?
That there was something wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Like physically something wrong. And again, he didn't spar for 6 weeks. That's an injury, ladies and gentlemen. That's an injury.
Yeah.
And when I brought that information, instead of people saying, oh man, Drew, we appreciate it, I get called an excuse maker. So, F it, man. I ain't gonna say anything.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I ain't gonna say anything. Whatever. I mean, he one thing we can all agree, everyone across the board, even Bud fans will say, he didn't look right.
No.
He didn't look right. And that's all I'm saying. He did not look right.
Yeah, no, he didn't. And
that's why he got his ass kicked.
And an argument could be made that Bud hit him a few times and that's what did it. You never know, but to me, something looked a little off. But either way, again, let me just reiterate, I don't think it would have made a difference, even if he was 100% that night. I think Bud was just so far above. But that being said, we might not get a rematch. We might. We're going to find out within a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which moves on to the next topic. Let's say the rematch does not happen. Terrence Crawford just went from saying initially there's weight classes for a reason. I would not go past 158, 160 pounds to fight Canelo. I'm not doing that. And just on Joe Rogan a couple days ago, he says, I love challenges, right, Crawford?
Oh, boy.
I look at Canelo and I size it up. I say, well, we're both 5'8". He's heavier, but I'm faster. My my arms are longer. I could do this. I want to fight the winner of Charlo and Canelo, is what Bud Crawford just said. What do you think?
Bud, I love you, brother. Pump your brakes. Pump your brakes, brother. Stop. Stop for a second. Stop for a second. I need you to look at the landscape and recognize what's going on. Okay, here's what's going on. Canelo had some sizable challenges and money on the table just last year, and he said no. Now he's at the PBC for an undisclosed amount of money. I heard some things, but I can't deny or confirm exactly what it is. He's here now. Why is he here? Do you think he'd come here? He has all the money in the world right now. Do you think he would come here if he didn't think he could win every fight that he got signed up for? Absolutely not. Okay. I'm hearing that David Benavidez is not even on the menu. Okay. And magically now we're talking about Bud versus him. And we're going to forget about David Benavidez. We're going to forget about Boo Boo Andre, he ducked literally for 8 years, man. Okay. Literally 8 years. That fight was supposed to happen. But now we see it for the little Charlo. Maybe the bigger Charlo, who hasn't been in the goddamn ring for 2 years. And the third fight was going to be Errol, but we saw what happened to Errol. And the general idea is that it's going to happen again. And if it does happen again, now you're looking at Bud. Bud, listen to me. Listen to me very carefully. The business sees value in Canelo Alvarez. That's just how it is. Just like the business sees value in Vasily Lomachenko over Shakur. Vasily Lomachenko his last fight, he just lost to Devin Haney. If you look at the sanctioning bodies, the WBA, the IBF, the WBC, I believe. I think Vasily Lomachenko still ranked ahead of Shakur. How can this be when he just lost?
Right.
I could be wrong. It might be the WBO, the WBC. I think the WBO is the only sanctioned body that has Shakur ahead of Loma. Okay. Shakur just hit up Loma. And he hit up Loma, and Loma told him basically no. And now I'm reading a tweet that was sent to me. I don't know if it's true or not, but now Loma and Kambosos are doing. The rumor is they're doing business for a potential fight in Australia.
Oh,
so those two men see more value in each other than they see in Shakur. And Shakur, he at least deserves that at 135. But they are looking to make money off Lomachenko and Kambosos and stick Shakur in the ring with Frank Martin. Shakur, my question to Shakur is, that's a great fight between him and Frank Martin, but that's high risk, low reward. You've been doing better fighting Kambosos or Lomachenko, because the 25% that you ducked from Haney, I'm guaranteeing you that's more than what you're going to be making fighting Frank Martin. So you ain't getting Kambosos, you ain't getting Lomachenko, they're giving you Frank Martin, which is not an easy fight for you, good brother. Or half brother, because you're Puerto Rican. You understand? So now look at you now. What I'm saying is the business sees more value in most fighters than others.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. And they see value in Canelo Alvarez. So I said all that to say this, but recognize what's going on. Stay away from Canelo, man. Because I firmly believe you can box beautifully and they will snatch that shit from you.
So do you think Bud beats Canelo?
50-50 fight.
50-50. Okay.
But if they split 6 rounds apiece, who you think's getting the nod? Canelo or Bud?
Well, what about if Charlo wins and he fights Bud? How do you see that going?
I got Jermell. I got Jermell.
Wow.
Because he's bigger. he's actually bigger than Errol.
Yeah.
And he's more comfortable at 154.
Right.
But I also don't like fighters going way up in weight and then coming back down. We saw what happened to Roy versus Antonio Tarver.
Sure did.